Hey YouTube, Electric Adventures here with the next episode of Electric Adventures The Games, where basically I'm going through all of my games that I made back in the day, one at a time, doing a bit of gameplay, and then we actually have a look at the listing afterwards so you can see how it was programmed. Now next title, so we're on Program Pack 5, hold that up there. We've already done Space Invaders and Sub Hunt. And the next one is Chicken. No points for originality whatsoever. Activision actually had a game that was very similar to this. You can see that I quite liked the Activision games back in the day and targeted them to, bring versions of them to my original Spectravideo because there were not many games to buy. Now this one is very important, even though one of the games I've already showed you before, which was Hopper, which was my Frogger clone. Used the machine code routine. This game, I believe, was the first one that used my little machine code routine to move lots of sprites. Very simple game. You can enter your skill level, as you can see here. And then we have cars, and you have your chicken. And you have to try and cross. And every time you cross, you get some points. Now, we're not getting any sound, but I don't think there is actually any sound in this game. It is simply just, and you can move left and right as well. As you can see, the chicken's speed is quite smooth. But it shows, with a bit of, machine code moving some sprites around, you can get quite smooth gameplay. And it looks quite colourful. There's only one large sprite per line too, so I possibly could have even added a bit more colour to the cars by having two sprites over the top of each other, and we wouldn't have had any problems. And actually, if you're really clever with that, you can actually have more. Whoop! Okay, oh, there we go. It does have sound when you die. I'm getting worried there for a sec. So we're doing pretty good, but it's definitely getting harder. I'm definitely having to pay attention to my chicken and my run across the middle. And you notice, it's definitely getting harder. The cars are going at different speeds. Whoa! In different directions. Luckily we had that slow lane one. Oh, this is getting a bit. Whoop. I'm still doing better than I would have thought it would. There you go. I don't believe there are any extra lives in this game, but so as you can see, it's quite a colourful game. Okay, it's definitely getting harder now. Right down to the wire. Oh, made it across one more time. Okay, getting the frequency and sneaking through. And go. No! Oh! Oh, I got to 3,000. Oh god, it's sped up again. No, I did. Well, I made it 3,000. I'm actually impressed. Top score! Woohoo! So there we go, and just to give you an idea, let's that was skill level 1. Let's try with skill level 8. So I believe this is already so the same as if I'd gone across 8 times already. Oh god. You can see that definite boost when it gets over that thing. That really fast moving lane is a killer. Nah. And I'm dead already. As you can see, quite a fun little game. Simple, but I did put these out on program packs with another 2 games, so people got some variety of games. And if I don't mind saying so, it's a quite nice looking little game for its simplicity. Alright, so I'll get it set up and we'll go and have a look at the source code. Okay, back. Right, so let's have a look at how long the listing is, and you'll be surprised at how short the listing is. There we go. and there we go. It is 29 lines long, so I think this is the shortest game I've shown you. I think it is. And I can already tell you that line 290, those bytes there are the entirety of the machine code routine too. So, and I do actually cover the details of that machine code routine and what it does and how to call it from your own basic programs in my book. I haven't actually spruiked my book for a while. The articles beyond basic, of which there were six articles, were actually published back in the MSX and Spectravideo Computer Forum magazine, and then the last couple of ones was when I took it over and called changed the name of it to Micros Gazette. And then I republished those when I republished my original Spectravideo and MSX Complete User's Guide. I added the bonus chapters of adding that Beyond Basic article. So I'll put links to my book down the bottom. You can get it on Amazon as in digital form, or you can get it on print to order as well. So might as well do a bit of spruiking while I'm at it. So, but anyway, the game's available for free download, of course, as the other ones have been. So let's have a look, so you can have a look at it. Okay, there's more in that first couple of lines than I thought, so let's just try that again and only get the first four. Okay, so here's the first difference that we noticed in previous ones. So the very first command we do is we clear a bit of memory, and it's going to be at the address D800. So this is at an appropriate spot in memory, so that this will work on a Spectravideo 318, which only has the last 16K of RAM. So we're right up the top of the address space here. So this game would work on both the MSX machines and the original Spectravideo. Then we do the normal stuff. We set our colours, our screen mode, we make a whole lot of variables ints except for L, which is probably our level 1. So we actually do use a floating point number this time. We define our random function and seed it with time, and another new command, def user, pointing to that actual address. So that's where we're going to load our machine code, and we open our handle to the graphics so we can print text. Line 20 we restore 230, so that's restoring to the start of our data statements. Down further, clear the screen, preset sets the current position of the cursor on the screen, set our colour, and then we print chicken, which is our title, and then we use the line with the B command to draw a box around it. So that quickly comes up when we start the game. I didn't actually show you that while it's loading its sprite data and the machine code, which doesn't take very long because there's actually not that many sprite shapes. So line 30, we read in our sprite data, so it also loads the machine code by the looks of it. So the first part, the for 1 A equals 1 to 6, loads our sprites. So that would load our chicken and probably 5 different types of car, oh no, four cars and 1 skull and crossbones. And then near the end there, you've got from A equals 0 to 25, so our machine code routine is 26 bytes long. We read those values and we poke them into memory starting from D800, so from that address onwards. We set our high score to 400, and I'm not 100% sure, D850A0. That might be the hook address. Anyway, we'll come back to that one. Line 40, we clear the screen again because we've finished loading all our data, and we draw that initial screen you saw. So that's putting the score up the top. That's what line 40 is doing. We do draw 2 boxes, so it's drawing the 2 purple boxes, I'd say. I'll just go. Oops. Sorry, my hands are offset a little bit. Right, and now line 50 draws all of our dotted lines that form the stripes on the road. And the last thing we do is print the enter skill level 1 to 8 down the bottom. And line 60 waits for you to enter a value from 1 to 8 and loops around in a circle. So once you've entered something valid, we print it next to the value there, and then we set up some things. So Li, which is our level, I'd say, level increment, Okay, it's the value of whatever we typed in and divides it by 10. That's why we need our floating point number. We set our score to 0. LL, I suppose, is our actual level. LV equals 5. Now, interesting thing, because I should have used another variable for probably LV because it's using floating point because it starts with L. Then we draw a box over the enter skill level 1 to 8. And we go sub to 150, there's a little routine there, and we go sub 160. I would say that places probably the cars and the chicken. On sprite go sub, so that's basically when any two sprites hit each other on the screen, that routine will be called. And since we've only got one sprite in every line in our chicken, it's only going to be the chicken that hits one of those cars. So it's a very easy way to do collision detection. So basically, if we get any collisions, the chicken's dead. So very, very simple concept. So line 70 for A equals 1 to 7, this would be putting our initial sprites of the cars on each row, and we're using a random function to position both its x coordinate and so the y coordinate is how far down, which lane it is, whereas the x coordinate we started at a random position along the track, so they start at different positions. And then we have some randomness to both the shape and the colour. Then we set up some variables, which will be our initial position of our chicken, and then put our chicken and then turn the sprite. The sprite on means that it turns that on sprite collision detection on. Line 80. Basically, I'll just have a look at this. VPIG A times 4, 12 or 16. I've come back to you on that one. That one's doing like if the shape equals 12 or 16. Is it the shape? A4 last value. I have to come back to that one. I'm not 100% sure what that is doing in context at the moment. So trouble. No comments. Press code. Then we turn our interval on, which is our timer. So that's probably making it get faster. So the longer you wait, the faster it is. It's not just the number of crosses you do. So going across as quickly as possible. Just like the previous game, I used on interval to increase the skill level. So line 100, we finally get our joystick direction, and that is basically just quite simply changing our x coordinate, and we make sure we can't go too far to the right, and we use vpoke to change our x coordinate. Line 110 is doing the same but going left. Line 120 makes us go down the screen, and line 130 makes us go up the screen. Obviously, if we're going up the screen, we're seeing whether we have gotten to the top of the screen, and then we increase our score and our level of difficulty, and we call those go subroutines probably to reset everything on the screen. And otherwise, we set a thing, and line 140 is the end of our loop. So line 150 is our subroutine for printing the score. Line 160 prints our number of remaining lives, so we'd call that when we die. Line 170 is the end of our sprite routine, I'd say. Yep, decreasing our lives. We print our lives, and if it's larger than 0, we turn the interval back on. I'll turn the interval off and go to 70. I would say that turns the interval back on when we get back there. Otherwise, line 180, it's game over. So we put game over on the screen and check whether our score has gone over the high score there on 190 and display top score. Oops, somehow we ended up there. Trouble using the keyboard at a slight angle. So line 200 is our interval routine. So this is called on the timer. That's interesting. It's actually rubbing all the sprites off the screen. Oh, okay, so that must do a pause. We're using the interval to do the pause after you've gone across. It's an interesting way of doing it. So that way you still have some animation going on, whilst you've made it to the top, you're adding your score on, and then there's a little bit of time passes before we reset. There we go, and line 210 is when our actual routine is called to move the cars, and we're calling that on a particular timer interval. So, and that interval's based on our level of difficulty so far. So line 220 is our, basically when we die, and line 230 is our first sprite shape. So that's probably the shape of a chicken. And then we would have some cars, and probably the last one is the skull and crossbones. And then obviously 290 is our machine code. So, of course, this game will be available to download on my website with a little bit more information and history on it. Feel free to download and play with it, and experiment and change it around. Maybe try some of the things that I suggested, using more sprites on every line to make the cars more colourful. Adding more sound. Maybe just change the sprite shapes and make your own sprite shapes. I don't mind, and it's a good learning exercise, because these videos are both about me basically recording about what I wrote back in the day, and to help other people out there who are learning how to program. Alright, I hope you've enjoyed this next episode. I'm Electric Adventures. Thanks to all my subscribers. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.
Bye.